Welcome to the BEFREERE podcast, where you learn how to make your job optional. I'm your host, John, who's just getting started on his journey. But in the last year, I moved across the country, bought 4 apartments, make money as a landlord, no longer pay rent, and I have my first child. I'm joined by your co-host and my guide, Tony Angati, who in 5 years quit his job and now manages over 80 units through a combination of house hacks, flips, and partnerships. So, with that, let's jump into how you can do less of what you have to do and more of what you want to do.
That's all. I don't have any stupid situations that I care to discuss today. Do you have any stupid situations that you care to discuss before we get into an incredibly stupid situation that I found out about on the internet?
Oh, that sounds like a very good Florida tenant. No.
Yes.
Just updating everyone on how things went from last week. We got our appraisal back and we have a bunch of equity. So I highly recommend that people do forced appreciation on a house hack. It's fantastic. And I have to say thank you, Tony, because you're the one that turned us on to the deal in the first place. So
thanks. Appreciate it. So you gonna get most of your, are you gonna pull cash out then? Or are you just gonna refinance for the rate and leave the equity in?
it's a good question. We're actually kicking that around. I think we might just do a HELOC even though we're there.
Okay.
Because we want the payment to be low and we don't need the money. We'd rather have it as a line of credit essentially. But yeah, I mean, kind of the simple math is the place is going to be grossing about $1,500 a month and we have something like $15,000 left in the property.
Nice.
If we were to refi it all out, so we're extremely happy. And I think the other very encouraging news is I did a lot of the work myself and it appraised pretty well. So take that to my critics.
You fooled him. You fooled the appraiser.
Well, yeah, something like that. Not really.
I guess spray painting fans black turns out pretty well. I should never criticize you.
Yeah, I'll let you know on our other property that's still in the process. I'll let you know how that one comes back. So for two,
I love it.
If we're 2 for 2 on spray painted fans,
then I'm spray painting fans black, but I'm using Rust-Oleum. I'm not saving $1 per can. Anyway,
fine.
Speaking of somebody that can't save $1 per can, we're gonna talk about this Florida situation here.
Florida tenant.
80% not knowing what to do, perhaps 20% semi-useful advice at the end. So I read about this on the internet. Okay, I'll give the credit to tickled.com. The statement is, so this guy gets evicted for non-payment. So far, pretty normal landlord stories. But instead of trashing the place like most upstanding citizens do, he cut out small chunks of drywall, put dead fish in the walls, and sealed them back up. Fortunately, he did a pretty good job feathering the drywall because no one noticed that there were small holes in the walls with dead fish in them. Yeah, there's the crazy part. So then the even crazier part is broski landlord here that goes through doesn't apparently do a very, very solid move-out inspection. So then he continues the story by saying new tenants moved in and they couldn't figure out where the smell was coming from for weeks. They got the place professionally cleaned 4 or 5 times, searched endlessly for the smell. They found nothing. Eventually, they figured something must have died in the walls and figured out what had happened. Wow. I guess lesson number 1 is don't piss off a dude that works at the fish counter at the grocery store, I guess.
Yeah, especially if he knows how to hot patch drywall. Holy smokes.
Yeah, right? I mean, you should be hiring this guy. It sounds like he did a pretty solid job patching up these walls. I mean, you could be paying this guy to do handiwork instead of getting evicted for non-payment. Anyway, I think that one of the important lessons here is you need to do your walkthroughs before you list the you need to do some sort of walkthrough before the people move in. I feel like there's probably a walkthrough skipped here. I mean, I find it hard to believe that this guy got evicted and then the next day new tenants moved in. You know what I mean? That's not really how it happens. Usually people get evicted, you got to clean the place up, and then you got to market it, and then people move in. So there's usually a period of I don't know, at least a few weeks in between, right? Yeah. So you should have someone you trust do the walkthrough. I mean, by a few weeks, I would assume that some smelly fish would have come up, right?
Yeah, I think it was you that was saying, I mean, you said this about your house hacks, but, you'll like go in there and, take a shower.
Take a shower.
Yeah, like, use the place a little bit just to, that's how you kind of figure out what's jacked up. But yeah, boy.
That is some like,
That's
I sadly
vindictive.
respect the owning that this guy did. He just like, this is a gigantic, awesome middle finger, but also this takes some skilled evil maneuvering.
Yes.
But
Hopefully-
yeah.
Hopefully he'll use his powers for good in the future here.
Probably not, but that's okay. Any event, lesson here is do your walkthroughs before people actually move in.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, with that, we're going to jump back into keep working down our Instagram DMs. So we got one from Joey D. Let's see where he's from. New York. Says, hope you guys are doing well. Appreciate the answering my question. I'm 25, been working in commercial real estate for 3 years now. I have $65K saved up, but no job. I want to do a BEFREERE. My brother has a job and will partner with me, having about $100K of reserve capital. Would you say that it's possible for me to do a BEFREERE right now? Or should I get a paying job and then wait until I have that to do my BEFREERE? Thanks again.
I think that there's a lot here with the BEFREERE principles where you should really come at real estate investing, as we've said many times, from a position of financial strength, not one of hardship. And you have a pretty good reserve with $65,000. But even if your brother's going to partner with you, you really shouldn't be stretching your personal self thin to get into this. So I'm of the opinion that you should get yourself a job first, even if that's just like a basic job that helps cover your life expense. Even if it's like Uber or something, you should definitely be doing something to bring money in rather than gambling everything on hoping this stuff pans out. Real estate investing done right shouldn't be gambling. And this sounds a lot like gambling with your life savings, which sounds like it's a good way to get burned. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, there's like a couple questions, which is, what does 65K represent for you? Like in terms of how many months of runway do you have? So if you have student loan debt and a car payment and maybe another mortgage already, that's very different than I'm living in my brother's house, right? And I don't even pay for groceries, or I live with my parents or whatever. So a little more context, I think, would help assess like how risky this really is. But I mean, here's the truth about all BEFREERE like questions is like, can you get the deal, right? Because if you can get the deal, then you're good to go and you can do it. I don't know if I would recommend it full time, like Tony said. Depends on your situation. But, if you don't have a deal and you just have some money and an idea, yeah, I think, you're not going to have a plan B and you're going to be forced into like buying a deal. I'm guessing this is going to be your first deal. That's what it sounds like anyway. So you're just going to be biting off a lot. You're going to have all this like pressure to buy a place right away. Imagine yourself 1 month from now after spending, let's say $10,000 or something on marketing and whatever else you're doing. And then you're starting to get nervous. So then you buy a place not because you want to and you think it's a great deal, because you feel like you have to, you don't have any income, and then it has to work out and it has to BEFREERE perfectly. Oh, and by the way, is anyone going to lend to you? Because now you have less money. So I'd be very, very careful about being all in unless you need to be. Sometimes you have to be all in on something, but being between a rock and a hard place it's not going to be fun. It's going to be very stressful, but if you make it out alive, it'll be a great story.
I guess actually in this scenario, when I think about this critically, like what would I do if there was no way of me getting a job? Like say you have $65,000, you're just out of jail from like a felony or something and you just can't really get a job. I don't know. It's very difficult. I think in that case, I wouldn't really even be focusing on a BEFREERE deal. I'd be focusing on trying to flip something because you need like
ASAP.
You need money coming in. So you could either put that $65,000 towards like marketing, wholesaling, or getting some education that gets you into some sort of job that's like self-employed, whether that's something around real estate or not around real estate. Basically do something with it that can get you cash a little bit faster, because rentals are ultimately, even the BEFREERE strategy, it's like a get rich slow game. So I mean, if you don't have something else bringing money in, you're just going to put this $65K into something, and then even if it works out perfectly, you're still not going to see your money back until 12 months from now. 6 at the best. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know where you are, like in the country. You're from New York, but it's a big state. And yeah, I guess
Syracuse.
Syracuse. All right. Well, I got some family there. So what I heard recommend, if that is your case and you're 25 and you don't have like kids or something, is yeah, you can use that 65 to maybe buy a place for cheap and start renting out the rooms and making sure that you have all that dialed in. And then that way you can lower your monthly rent, and then maybe you can even move in with your brother and you just have the place completely rented out, all in. Something like that. That would be my advice on just lower your burn rate as much as possible if you don't have a full-time job. But yeah, I don't think like a BEFREERE right now, those two terms aren't really compatible, because I always forget what the word is, but you have to wait 6 months. So there is no quote unquote right now.
Right. That's solid advice. I don't have anything else to add, really.
Yeah. Well, listen up, or else, Joey D.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Great. Well, with that, Tony, let's roll into something that you learned this week.
You need to be doing your annual or twice annual walkthroughs, or your property manager needs to be doing them. I recently was in a property where the tenant is breeding reptiles and raising fruit flies to feed said reptiles. And I can't say that they're selling the reptiles, but this place is like full of reptile tanks. And it's like, what do you do now, right? I mean, you can't push to evict. However, if you would have caught this at the beginning, they probably wouldn't have taken it as far. But you basically need to make sure you're checking in on your tenants, or they might start growing reptiles.
A serious question. Are you going to include like some kind of pet limit on your leases in the future?
You're only supposed to have the pets that are listed on your application. So if someone applied and said, I have 50 bearded lizards, I would probably say, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, we had somebody once say that they had like 8 cats and 2 dogs or something. And the pet fee is like $50 per pet. So, I mean, nobody's going to pay that, right? Like,
yeah, that's
$500 a month in pet fees is like way, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's too much.
I was going to ask, are you going to send this person like a backdated bill for $6,000 of overdue pet fees?
At least they're not tarantulas. But yeah, I went into a building a while back too, and they had like tarantula tanks. And I was just like, I don't think I'm going to tour this unit. So yeah.
Yeah, that's horrifying. What I learned is if you're going to paint the exterior of your property, spend a little extra money and use paint with elasticizers in them. So we were planning to use maintenance paint, which is like super high VOCs, $17 for 5 gallons or something. And my partner / wife talked me out of that. And we got much more expensive paint, but the coverage on it is so much better. We can already tell it's going to last so much longer. And, we had to pressure wash the walls and scrape the walls and do all this prep. Paint is like 90% prep work, and then the other 80% is not cutting it correctly. So it's, spend a little extra on, don't cut every single corner with costs. You have to think about things from like, how long is this supposed to last? And then what am I paying per year to not do this job again? Because if you're like me anyway, sometimes you're like in the store and you're like, oh, I'm going to save, whatever, $10 right now. And then next thing you know, you're out there doing the job again, swearing under your breath. So
where do you find $17 for 5-gallon maintenance paint?
I should look up what the actual price is, but
yeah, that's really cheap. However, I think we found a new sponsor. Cabinet jacks on the outs. Elasticizers, step right up, because you're the new sponsor of the BEFREERE podcast, brought to you by Elasticizers, ABC Incorporated.
Sherwin-Williams to put out the plug, actually.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We don't need to give them free advertising. Our gigantic listener group they'll get a bump.
Yeah,
we're gonna. Your Sherwin-Williams stock just went up 10 cents.
There you go. That's what our listeners don't really know. We don't run ads because we actually just buy stocks ahead of time and then pump it on the show. That's the kind of influence we have.
Brought to you by Enron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This podcast is inspired by Jim Cramer.
There you go.
All right. Well, with that, everybody,
Call us with questions.
Yeah.
412-212-8366. The more ridiculous, the better.
Yeah, that's right. And keep your burn rate low. Make sure you're checking your tenants for Florida man fish wall situations. And what else can I say? Live by the principles. All right. See you, everyone.